This is not a movie. Everything you think to be truth, dig in the back of your brain and excavate it from the soil of your enslaved mind. All the world's a stage, and the last 6,000 years of mankind's existence has been the best kept playwright ever choreographed, as far as we know. Be sober, be aware, they're everywhere. Clandestine invasion and infiltration. They govern what we perceive to be reality under the guise of authoritative dictatorship. Exactly what we supposedly declared independence from hundreds of years ago, when the kings of Old World mandated their bartering system as law, forcing citizens of Old World to be loaned all necessary goods and services from the kings and kingsmen of Old World, with an interest rate of 15 cents taxation on every 25 cents borrowed. There were 10 original families whom separated themselves from Old World to create New World. From these 10 families, namely Turd, Warbuff, Rothshit, George, and several others, came the hybrid offspring decades later, including but not limited to Benedict, Winston, and Dush. This only begins to scratch the surface of this history of control over the world by a select group for the last 6,000 years. All the kings of New World are blood related to the kings of Old World, and are direct descendants of the original 10 families of Old World. Meaning, the same group of people and their offspring have been governing our mentality and systems of belief for thousands of years. They play on our emotions and make fun of us via mainstream and movies. One of my favorite acts of all time involves a military unit deployed into a mysterious rainforest jungle where they are stalked and hunted by an intergalactic superhuman chameleon reptilian. The unit's major tells them, if it bleeds, we can kill it. Shape-shifting reptilian chameleons, cloaked in cloned flesh. They control what we perceive to be reality by inducing the frequency of fear and terror via wars and rumors of wars, disease, and poverty. They manipulate our world, the only left that's not ready to embrace the truth, according to high-ranking officials employed at the Unified Galaxy Corporation Federation, located in the center of the universe. Disguised as authoritative figures such as kings, these beings have us all unknowingly still living as slaves. Let me take this brief moment to apologize to all the comfortable slaves who choose to omit truths from everyday experiences because we get to hide away in the safety of our secured homes at night. I would also like to offer a special tailor-made apology to all the believers and defenders of the status quo who use a farced system of religion and education concocted from half-truths and disinformation to control the masses, keeping us existing in a state of consciousness known as human-shamanism. Humanoid mushrooms, kept in the dark and fed shit. Don't take it personal though. Your parents and our parents' parents have been lied to throughout the years as well. We've all been brain bribed. A vicious cycle passed down from generation to generation in an effort to keep us holding on and having faith and believing change has come. Break free from the shackles of your governmental and embrace the truth. Many, if not all, of Old World and New World sacred beliefs and practices are satirical, symbolical representations of what secret sex practices, performed by unknown persons in unknown places. This secret group drinks human blood, not wine. They eat human flesh, not wafers. This, all after a ceremonial celebration in which a human body is sacrificed. A lot of kings and kingsmen from Old and New World pledge allegiance to this secret alliance of unknown people and their grotesque rituals. There is no secret anymore. These people are not of the same blood and DNA makeup of us, and whomever they're making human sacrifices to cannot be loving and kind-hearted. Anybody who orchestrates the death of innocent people and executes and enslaves billions of people for the advancement of a nation's wealth is not like us. War, slavery, and carefully calculated depressions create plentiful revenue for the kings and kingsmen. However, power is their main goal and focus. Financial and banking institutions of Old World and New World currently receive payouts and loans from rigged money-making machines while stealing millions of dollars from Old and New World taxpayers via an overabundance of workload and insufficient pay rate. As unemployed citizens must rely on family and friends for food and shelter or face the harsh reality of homelessness and death. Not only do they intercept our funds via masterminded embezzlement schemes and never successfully ratify unapportioned taxation without representation, but they also kill us off with slavery and genocide in the form of staged false flag fabrications and poisoned product we call food and water. We need to stop fighting each other and unite against the common denominator of us all. Realize what we're up against now, or continue to cower in fear as you pick and choose your battles instead of addressing the real issue, that being our perception of reality and those who govern our mental. Cookie Cartums, Bobby Will, Louis Newton, Princess Diangela, and Jill Rupert, all systematically terminated for starting a resistance or knowing too much. Guess that makes this my will and testament. Remember when Princess Diangela of Winston was murdered? I meant killed in that horrible car accident? Remember the mass cyclist who caused the so-called accident? Remember how frightened Princess Diangela appeared to be? What if I told you she saw her brother, which was also her husband, shaking hands with a representative of the House of Winston, as he morphed from that of human characteristics to more of a reptilian chameleon variety? This is no horror movie nor space odyssey, my friend. This is the reality that currently exists under the surface of the facade we experience in everyday life. If you choose to remain ignorant to the facts that present themselves, you are nothing more than a drone, controlled, manipulated, and predictable in every way. The same things every day. Work, church, class, retail store, convenience store, grocery store, etc., etc. Echoes of everyday life that have been implemented to keep you too busy to realize you're a slave. We all are. Slaves to a system of debt and false doctrine. Break out of the bondage of ignorance. Free your mind. Imagine trillions of years ago, before anything we read in current history books, which are made readily accessible in New World schools and establishments. Imagine a time before cell phones, before computers, before candy, even before Christ. And what is the biggest land bridge remaining here on planet Jerk, one of the first civilizations of the humanoid variety besides the original Antlians and Amarians, was engineered. The sacred holy books of Old and New World are satirical depictions and accounts of divine intervention in which some of the original inhabitants of planet Jerk performed genetic experimentation and manipulation to propel mankind to where we are today. The Antlians and Amarians were designed as pure, unconditional loving beings and thrived here on planet Jerk for eons, until they were deemed unprofitable by the cosmic choreographers. Peace and unconditional love for all will lead them to the path of righteousness and harmony and ascension. They need to be confused and divided so that they will not understand one another and fight one another, said the choreographers. For if they do not destroy one another due to their unconditionally loving frequency, they may live to gain immortality like us. The choreographers then set the stage for the Antlians and the Lumarians to be eliminated in what would appear to be a sequence of natural disasters, which was really nothing more than weather modification induction that manufactured torrential downpours, deluges, and rapidly rising sea levels. After the destruction, a new set of actors will be engineered and take the stage. Us. Is it that hard to believe? Modern day technology grows hearts and lungs in laboratories. Animals are cloned, and this is the information made available to the public. Imagine what we're not being told. There are 10 billion of us here on planet Jerk, and we're all genetically similar. X, Y, O, positive or negative. Adenines connect to cytosines, and guanines connect to thymines. We all stem from a group of ancient advanced humanoidians, which proves established education and the propaganda of life stemming from single-celled amoeba and bacteria eventually evolving into a eugenics monkey caveman, a lie, contrived to keep us ignorant. The middle central region of planet Jerk, where the colossal landmass is still intact, is the birthplace of humanity. The hoppy plant is not the only reason it's been staged war choreography in the central middle Jerk region since recorded history. In fact, kings of New World have been supplying the central middle region with money and weapons in return for hoppy, while citizens of New World are led to believe central middle regioners are thieves and killers. Our creators visit us from the dark soul system of the universe, closer than what it may seem, considering the dark soul system is a sister system to our very own. Allegedly, their first visit to our inner sun system 500 trillion years ago led to the seeding of this planet, as they were given orders to manufacture and maintain human beings in other regions of the universe. Planet Jerk is not the only stationary space station spaceship in our sun system inhabiting humanoidians as well as other life forms such as plants and vegetation. Most of the so-called planets in our sun system are made of 70% water, and evidence of civilizations already existing on these planets include buildings, monuments, and very large statues depicting the inhabitants, their culture, society, and philosophy. The statues, pictures, and other artifacts appear to resemble the ancient humanoidians who've existed here on planet Jerk for millennia upon millennia. These trillion-year-old relics just so happens to mirror the current representation of human jerklings existing today. Obviously, pure-hearted, loving humanoidians have been around the sun system neighborhood for quite some time. Our common chameleon denominator and their soul slaves, old and new world kings, are a competitive, egotistical breed believing in complete dominance and control over every planet in the universe. However, our humanoid brothers and sisters on other planets resist the common denominator of us all as well. In fact, we jerklings inhabit underground colonies on these worlds, coexisting with our fellow humanoidians. There are several tribes of otherworldly humanoidians here on planet Jerk with us as well, helping, in an effort to vibrate and maintain the frequency of unconditional love. That frequency will resonate and spread throughout the universe, even unto that old and new world king-controlling cold-blooded chameleon which seeks to skillfully manipulate via lies and deception. You see, my friends, even that which is created out of the cold darkness can consciously evolve into the warm light of love, being evidenced through us jerklings. Maybe why the chameleons are allowed to manipulate this realm via kings of old and new world, creating chaos while inducing enslavement. Could this all be a test or game or experiment? This is not Star Wars, nor Star Trek, nor Deep Space Nine. This is the reality we exist in. The humanoid coalition of the sun systems made a vow during the time of our trillion-year-old ancient ancestors to keep the human seed planted throughout the galaxy, for they knew of future impending danger posed by the chameleons via unexplained telepathic connection, with the even older ancient souls of the pure, unconditionally loving human from Atlas and Ameria. You see, we jerklings have been led to believe that we are weak and incompetent. With the implementation of hoppy plant chemical derivatives into the medicine and food manufactured here in New World, we've been convinced that it is okay to be lazy, wasted, and worthless. The hoppy plant in its natural form can prove useful for a wide range of variety of different things, from making clothing to building homes and temples. When cooked or boiled properly, it produces an oil and vapor that cure degenerative brain diseases when ingested, inhaled, or applied directly to the scalp topically. The plant can be eaten raw to reduce and eliminate pain, though too much of it raw may cause numbness of the tongue and mouth. Witch doctors, mad scientists, and other kingsmen of old and new world discovered by adding specific chemicals to manipulate the properties of the plant, they could triple the original amount while creating a more docile, order-following, unaware slave whom cannot do anything for himself at all, not even think or reason effectively, due to dizziness, lightheadedness, stupor, and other symptoms of brain damage. According to our humanoidian ancestors, as well as all other beings of existence, including but not limited to the chameleons, we are so much more. Immortal, godlike, soul-saving, soul everlasting. The reason why humanoid coalition of the Sun System's personnel was in contact with the original human of planet Jerk from trillions of years ago. The Atlians and Amarians never truly died. Their souls reincarnated in our trillion-year-old ancestors, and they into us. Hence, the battle for control over our minds and this reality. Some of us jerklings believe we've somehow attained the key to immortality by obtaining boarding passes to underground and underwater subcities close to planet Jerk's core. Some of us jerklings being kings and kingsmen, with all of us other jerklings stolen funds. Imagine, however, Grand Train Station being more than what we see on the surface or in the subway terminal. Imagine another world underneath New Jerk City, complete with cars, paved roads, street lamps, and buildings filled with information about average day-to-day jerklings on the surface, including but not limited to finance, favorite fashion, and even how often we frequent our local donut diner. Imagine under the big house in the district of Jerks, hundreds of levels of intel and laboratories. Imagine hundreds of levels of computer databases under Secret Cervix headquarters containing information on all us jerklings. Imagine levels upon levels of underground facilities and bunkers in the middle of New World where Area 61 is. Now, imagine these all being connected and interrelated throughout planet Jerk, not just in New World, via underwater and underground super speed subways that can travel 20 miles in 20 seconds. What we're up against is way over everybody's head, or in this case, way under everybody's feet. 'Tis the reason why we jerklings continue to carry on and along, being slaves to a system of indentured servitude by way of forced manual labor that yields below minimum wage cost of living benefits and the sacrificing of our soul to the very kings and kingsmen who use personal data contrived of us and our loved ones to keep us content and secure in their false sense of reality. It's much easier this way for us. Kings and kingsmen of the world and their chameleon overlords provide a plethora of distractful, entertaining charades by way of the television and public events in return for the control of our minds. The first step in escaping mental slavery is being informed. Seek the truth and stop believing lies that's been passed down through the ages. I remember going to the temples of New World as a child and hearing stories of somebody coming here to save us all from destruction. Now at temple, all they talk about is money and finance everybody's true Lord and Savior. All the temples of Old World and the original temples and buildings constructed when New World was established have hideous and horrific demonic statues and etchings carved into the making of the building on its exterior walls and on the interior. That's weird and freaky, scary even. Exactly what we're being conditioned to be, fearful, terrorized. Because if we don't have the fear of God in us to come to temple and give away our hard-earned, already heavily taxed income, sin and the devil win, and we go to hell. We, the people of Planet Jerk, are being swayed into our systems of belief. We live and die for these beliefs we've been indoctrinated with. We sacrifice our money and our soul for what we believe, and in return for what? To be spit on? To be made a mockery of? I don't think so, my friend. And I'm sure the older citizens of New World who've had billions of dollars worth of insurance policy funds accrued over their many years of slave labor stolen from them don't think so either. I can only begin to imagine that the young cubs of New World would much rather prefer more natural, healthy medicines and foods to consume instead of poison product that promote brain disease. But we do nothing about it because we cannot. So the elders convinced themselves and their families that New World officials needed the money more than we did, and the young cubs grow up to be brain-dead elders. All that matters is love, yet programs geared toward helping women and children of New World require the child's father to be deceased for the family to receive help. Music, movies, and other entertainment and gaming events, such as the Slaughter as Many Whales and Dolphins in a Day marathon, have created tension-filled, violent environments amongst us in return for what we agree to as fun or entertaining. One of many side effects of a malnutrition, malfunctioning brain, the lack of being able to comprehend when we are patronizing that which is to our demise. In fact, modern-day music, especially of the hip-hop culture, encourages ignorance, propaganda, and the use of slander, while promoting fame and luxury as the benefit to being a bad-mouthed, uninformed moron. The wavelength frequency from this so-called entertainment, coupled with poison disguised as food, may prove to be fatal. Leaked official New World top-secret government documents claim our water supply, bottled or otherwise, is being intentionally contaminated with tasteless, odorless chemicals under the guise of purification. An experimental study done on Planet Jerk farm animals proves ingesting chemically laced water by mouth or topically caused the animals' brains to slowly but progressively decay, while the internal organs of the farm animals developed cancerous tumors. This, along with PowerPixel TV, Intel phones, and other technology that deters the brain from developing while increasing the chance of damage and degeneration, is precisely why we are all being deceived. Impossible to be alert and cognitive while suffering from mild to moderate symptoms of dementia due to everything in our environment, from the food we eat to the medicines we use. All food-like product is being genetically manipulated and engineered in laboratories with growth inducers to produce the most amount of product with the least amount of actual substance. Nothing wrong with that, right? Gotta get the most for your buck, right? Good for business, right? Wrong. Each tasty bite increases our chance of getting cancer while regressing our logic and reasoning abilities. The 10 original bloodlines from Old World, including but not limited to Builder Block and George, were each assigned a section of land here in New World to cultivate, build, and maintain. These families consider themselves to be royalty, kings and kingsmen. These rulers of men pledge allegiance to the chameleons, their overlords, while manifesting a world of confusion and chaos. The offspring of the original 10 families, including but not limited to the Fockereller and Dush families, whom the chameleons use to do their dirty work, control planet Jerk via mind manipulation. Welcome to hell, ladies and gentlemen. Ice water, anyone? New World is not the only totalitarian authoritative dictatorship regime secretly servicing shape-shifting chameleons. Just the centerpiece of it all. Old World and the alleged thieves and killers from Middle Central Jerk cloak themselves in the shadows of betrayal and fraudulence while commandeering a one-world way of thinking. That being fear and weakness. Norvis Ordo Seclorum. I suggest we usher in our own one-world way of consciousness with the manifestation of divine undying love. A love with no terms nor restrictions. A love for ourselves, each other, and all beings existing. Even that cold-blooded chameleon which seeks to manipulate and eventually eliminate us. The frequency of love will resonate and spread throughout the universe, even unto that cold-blooded chameleon. For the heart which is filled with purity of love prepares the soul for immortality.